I overheard my daughter tell her boyfriend the other day that her dad is really into anything and everything that has to do with history. That could mean I'm old, but it also could mean that I'm enjoying this historical series that we're presenting called Spotlight on Laurel, Her History and Her People. Sponsored by the Video Guy and the Sentinel-Echo, it can be heard weekly on WJTE-FM 98.5 and streamed at lightoflondon.com. Welcome into this week's edition. This is week number 12, and today we have World War II veteran Owen Edwards with us. Good to see you, Owen.
Thank you, sir.
First, let me say it's an honor and a privilege to be sitting here talking to a man of not only such great character, but a man of true valor. And I'm thankful that you let us enter your home today, sir.
Thank you.
We always begin these interviews by asking you about your heritage, your roots, and then, if you will, please tell us about your family now.
I was born in Livingston, Kentucky, in Rockcastle County in 1925. That makes me 93 years past.
Wow.
We moved to London in 1936, and I remained in London, in Laurel County, until I graduated from high school, in Hazel Green High School, in 1940. In December of 1942, I immediately joined the United States Navy, which they then immediately sent me to Great Lakes, Illinois, for boot camp, and then to Norfolk, Virginia, to further training in amphibious warfare. My family are deceased, all but my children and their siblings. My father, James David Edwards and Cora Edwards, are now deceased, and they have been inspiration even until this day to my background, and I contribute a lot to them because the way they taught me,
Yes.
the way they brought me up,
Yes.
and it's been instilled in me until this day, and I hope until the day I die.
Yeah.
My wife, bless her heart, who deceased on the 13th of this month, is from Campbellsville, Kentucky. Her relatives are some living in Cold Hill area even now, and these past days have been very difficult for us, but life goes on.
I appreciate you allowing us that even more so because of the death of your wife recently. But as I was up here earlier, you let us know that yes, when this is over, I want you to come back, and so that I'm happy that you're having us today. But
thank you.
Let's go back now and talk about the war. How first of all, we talked a little bit about politics off camera here, but this is a historical series, and so folks like you, I'm really interested in asking you how, from your perspective, because everybody's got their opinions and so forth, but how in the world do we get ourselves into such a mess, and then everyone looks to us to help get the whole world out of it? And that's what was going on with World War II, really.
Oh, yes. Yeah, it's sad, and I'll not be political here because I'll not even tell you what party I belong to.
Right.
But we have, from both sides, become a party of me and mine.
There's a greater divide now than ever. Very
Absolutely.
Polarizing.
Yeah.
You know, the last two presidential elections have been very polarizing, and we're not here to talk about that. That's hopefully history writes a nicer story about these times than we're actually witnessing now. But World War II, a very dark time for the whole world. That's why they call it World War, and it's been many years now. But those scars and things remain. So, what was it like being in the Navy in World War II?
Strangely, as a 17-year-old boy who had never been out of Laurel County on 2 or 3 times, Cincinnati, Knoxville, as far as I'd ever been, never saw the ocean, either of the oceans, didn't know anything too much about the Navy, but yet had a desire to go to the Navy, to see the world. And many times, the difficult times as we served as boys, we did not fully realize the depth of what we were doing. But we were told this and that and that, and that's what we did. Mm-hmm. But after growing up and experiencing all these things and coming back and seeing what we had before as a boy, as a teenager, we then fully realized what we had just gone through. And we grew up fast.
Yes. And you were one of many, many thousands and tens of thousands of wide-eyed young boys, 17, 18, 19 years old,
yes.
Who hadn't seen the world, who didn't know anything about life outside of their small communities,
that's
pockets
right.
of them here and there and all over. That's how you had a kinship with these guys automatically, because everything was... you were looking at it in wonder and amazement. You know, I didn't know this existed, and then you're plunged into a terrible time of war. You know, and you see a lot of folks make it back home, and some not so fortunate. You know,
they're the heroes.
They're the heroes, absolutely, and you all are. But I think more honor and tribute should be paid to those folks.
Oh yes,
and all of you, really, the veterans of any war, veterans of the armed forces. So we spoke with Mr. Schott recently, Roy Schott.
A good friend.
Yeah, he was telling us of those dark days where each week now, while you all were over there fighting, but each week the Sentinel-Echo would report the local dead. I can't imagine that, but and then he also went on to tell us how jubilant it was the day when those bells rang from Courthouse Square, signifying the end of conflict for the United States in World War II. So such time of sorrow, though, and I know I've heard tales in my own family of, you know, I had a grandfather and a great uncle who fought in World War II, and I've heard the tales of how Granny Williams prayed them back home and fasted 21 days, and you know, that was going on everywhere. It was just because everyone was touched and moved by it. You know, the draft had taken the young men, and no one knew if they'd see their young men again.
Many of them did not see them.
And you're one of the
fortunate
few that's but you're one of also few that's are still here today.
Oh yes.
Yeah. And so when you say you're being told what to do and you don't know any different, that's what you do. Take us back to some of those times. You're in the Navy, so you're fighting the amphibious warfare. Take us back to that a little bit.
This is strange, I suppose. For I was 17 and immediately went to training, in extensive training, and wound up as a second-class petty officer, 18-year-old second-class petty officer.
Wow.
In charge of more than an 18-year-old should be in charge of.
Yeah.
In fact,
they saw your character.
In fact, giving orders to 30 and 32-year-old men. But we were told, and they were told, that this is what you do. There are people who are higher in rank than you are, and you're being told what to do.
Right.
And being so susceptible to orders, we did what they told us to do. The amphibious force was created to invade countries, as we did, in my experience, in France.
You
France.
ambushed them. You ambushed them.
You ambushed.
Yeah. That was sneak attack.
You did everything that they told you to do, and sometimes it was ambush.
Mm-hmm.
It was, but you did it, and one of the big things that stands out in my life is serving in Europe, in the Atlantic, the North Sea, the English Channel, the coast of France, and doing things that you had to do, and I'll not go into details. Doing things that you had to do, and as a young Kentuckian, never having these experiences, you just did it, and it did, and did not register on you until later. It registers more today than it did then.
Yes.
Then.
Yeah.
Because I know that in war, people die on both sides.
Yes.
That was one of the hard things. One of the
Absolutely.
hard things to do, even as a young person. And the invasion of Normandy, I was there on D-Day. In fact, I was there at midnight on the 5th of June. Our ship was getting ready to hit the beach at 6 o'clock on the 6th of June.
Wow.
And only if you could experience that in person could you realize really what
The enormity of it.
So that's one of the things that's engraved in you that you'll never forget.
Sure.
You'll never forget.
Well, what about did they feed you guys real news, hard news, any news, or just what they wanted you to hear? Did you know what, for example, part of the war, a big part of the war was the dictatorship of Adolf Hitler, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But did you guys get real news, or did you just get news that was filtered down to you what you needed to hear and what?
It was mainly filtered down to what we needed to hear.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mainly.
So you didn't know, the folks at home reading the Sentinel-Echo probably knew more about world events
than I did.
You did.
Than I did.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Wow. You know, I didn't realize too when I was doing my background research for the interview, but and we'll get to some of this in a minute, but you turned into quite a poet, sir. And folks who read the Sentinel nowadays are familiar with some of that. We'll get to one of those in a few minutes, but you come back from the war and you come to a home of, I guess, you've been in conflict. Now, did you stay in the Navy until war's end, right?
Yes.
Past war's end, I guess,
yes.
Right? Okay, you served.
Yes, uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
But now London and Laurel County offers some peaceful tranquility that you haven't seen in a while.
Oh, yes. Mm-hmm.
And you were happy to get home, I'm sure.
Yes, but let's see here if I can.
Take your time. Feel free to. Yeah, I want you to be sure.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. After having, and I'll read this verbatim. After having served for 2 years in a war zone, coming home to Laurel County, where it was so laid back, so quiet, and peaceful, made it very difficult to adjust.
Okay, hang on just a second. We'll touch on that for a second, because this is not real to 95% of folks walking around in society. They hear the words post-traumatic stress disorder. They don't. That's a foreign concept to people who haven't experienced that. I personally haven't experienced that, but I can relate to that because of what I've seen and heard, especially the Vietnam guys, because I
Yes.
think that's
Yes.
more recent, so that makes that more real. But even the guys who served in the Middle East conflicts that we've had in recent years with the religious wars and things, those guys, they suffer a lot of that too. You guys are no exception. You guys aren't talked about in those contexts in terms
No.
because you hit it well, and back then they didn't treat medical issues like post-traumatic stress.
No.
So tell us about that. Then you touched on that. You got home, and the piece that you were looking forward to sometimes wasn't there.
It wasn't there.
Because of you and what you had seen and what you had inside.
Yeah, the psychological aspect of it, and having been, with all the things that you went through while you were there, and every person who's served in any branch of the service that went through battles and the atrocities, and can come home. Well, I came home and was discharged. They gave me a bus ticket to come home, and said, get out of your uniform in 2 weeks. But they retained me and others for 10 years in the non-active reserves. And they gave us no instruction. Of course, they probably was so busy getting rid of people because so many people serving that they didn't go into details. You need to do this, you need to do that, you need to do something else. And you came home on your own, and here I am out of conflict and all to a place that's laid back, quiet, peaceful, and even at night you wake up and
I can't imagine that. Yeah.
So it even until today it still lingers. Not as bad, but
Right.
but
Time
still
helps heal some of that.
Time helps.
Yeah.
Time helps.
Yeah.
But I'm so glad that we've advanced today
Yeah, absolutely.
to take care of the VA and other
We need to take better
institutions.
care of the veterans.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've made some strides.
Yes.
I don't think we're completely there yet.
We're not there.
In my
We're not
political
there.
opinion, we're not there yet.
But we've
and,
made.
and you
great
guys, I think I don't want to use the term underappreciated, but it's just like I said, it seems like so long ago to the younger generations now. They hear about their grandparents, or their great grandparents, or their great great grandparents. As time goes on. But Tom Brokaw he wrote a book, and he called the World War II generation the greatest.
Yes, I've got it.
Generation.
Yeah, I have it.
I certainly have always echoed that sentiment. My grandfather was a World War II veteran, and I feel wholeheartely that, from my perspective, you all were.
Well,
I don't know what I've never been around anyone who fought in the Civil War or the Revolutionary War or what. But I have been around you guys, and it's the greatest generation. There's no question.
Well, I would question that.
Certainly
I
you
look
would,
back,
because you're an humble man, sir.
because my dad was World War I.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And of course, I read the Civil War, the Revolutionary War,
Yes.
and what those people went through then is
War.
just-
Let's just put a lid on it and say war is a terrible thing.
war's hell.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. War is hell. You come back home. That's a good way to guide into our next phase here. You come back home. You have some post-traumatic stress. You work through that. You're building. You look at building your family. We spoke about your wife earlier, and she's recently passed. But you went to college. You wanted to better yourself.
Yes.
And Sue Bennett was a happening place at that time.
It was the place for
Yes.
here.
So you got a degree from Sue Bennett College.
A certificate.
Certificate,
Yeah,
okay.
and then I went on to Louisville.
You went to Louisville, and then you were in seminary school in Louisville. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, it was here, but it was I went to engineering
Okay. Okay.
You went to United Television Engineering, Department of Engineering, taught by professors from University of Kentucky. And that's where I met my wife while I was there in school.
Really? Yeah.
Yes. And then graduating from there, I came back, and Lord called me into the ministry, and
That's awesome.
Through Cumberland College and Southern Baptist Convention, I took adult classes in ministry and teaching, and taught by professors from Cumberland College here in London. And I graduated from both. So I did make it through.
Yeah.
And then started pastoring churches.
Yes.
Here in the county and
several other counties too.
And many.
Yeah, you've filled in for folks. But tell us about your pastorships here in Laurel County.
First pastor was at Greenmount.
Okay. Very familiar with that.
Greenmount.
Yeah.
And then I went to Laurel River.
Okay.
Southern Baptist. There's two Laurel Rivers.
Yes.
And then I went from there to Freedom in Mount Vernon.
Okay.
In Rockcastle County. From now, I'll have to probably read them off here. I went from Rockcastle.
See if I can help you with that. I looked over your notes.
Probably on
you got the numbers up. I don't think you got them right down here.
You
got Pittsburgh Baptist Church on there.
I went from Freedom to Danville. From Danville to Richmond. From Richmond to Somerset. From Somerset to Winchester. From Winchester back to Somerset. From Somerset here to East Pittsburgh, where I served from 91 until 96 and retired.
Okay.
That's back.
You retired from full-time pastoring.
From full-time,
but I didn't never really retire.
I didn't retire. I've served in my wife fell. How many counties? Pastors supply many of the churches in Laurel County, Clay County, Jackson County, Lee County, Rockcastle County, Knox County, Lincoln County, Pulaski County, and others as interim and supply pastor, as in retirement.
Which is the interim pastorships? Those are churches looking for a pastor.
A pastor.
That's as great a calling in ministry as anything, because they're until they get supplied, they don't have anyone to preach to them. Yeah. So that's an awesome thing. Yeah. It really is. And
I've done that since 1996.
Is that right? Yeah.
Until my wife got to where we had curtailed, and I look forward to getting back into it.
At 93 years old, that's awesome. My Uncle Johnny, I was hoping that you might tell me some bad stuff on him.
No, I have to get along. I have to fool with him. I have to put up with him.
Well, shoot. When we turn the cameras off, though, you can tell
I own that.
I think of course, I'm speaking of Johnny Jervis. And
yes.
Yeah. I think you probably know my mother's side of the family, too, the Williams family. They used to sing at some of the churches that you pastored.
Yes, yeah. Yes. Oh,
I wasn't sure if you knew who I was or not.
Yes, 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 absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Some of those churches that you named, I can remember. as a young boy.
Carmichael.
Yeah. So I can remember that.
Yeah.
Those dinners on the ground, things like that. Good times and good stuff.
It's great.
Okay, so with the passing of your wife, I know that seeing your loved ones decline has to be the most difficult thing in the world. And you've dedicated yourself the past, I don't know how, a few years maybe, to her declining health issues. Yeah. And that's
dementia plus 2 major surgeries in June, and 2 major infections. Yeah, she was in the rest home, falling and breaking a hip while she was in the rest home. And we brought her home, and she stayed home a week and then passed away. But she did get to come back home. Hadn't been home since March, 1st of March this year, until...
Is that right?
Yeah, so...
That's why I wanted to read this poem, and I know I'm sure this may be your latest one. I know it's the most recent one that I can find, but it's beautiful and it's poignant concerning things that have happened to you lately with the passing of your wife, and so. But I'll read this, and this is written by Mr. Edwards, and it's wonderful. I can no longer. It's called I'll Try. I can no longer sail the oceans wide. And see, I have a better understanding of that line now that I've talked to you today. I can no longer sail the oceans wide. I can no longer climb the mountains high, but I'll try. I can no longer run the marathon, nor can I outrun the sun, but I'll try. I no longer can carry you, as yesterday I used to do, but I'll try. I no longer can sing songs of praise as I did in yesterdays, but I'll try. My feeble steps are slower now than when I first began, but I'll keep walking until God says the end. And that's a poem written by Owen Edwards, London, Kentucky, called I'll Try. That's beautiful, sir.
Thank you.
Very, very, very touching, very moving. I'll close with this. We're less than 3 months away from the holidays, and I know that I keep going back to the war, but it's such a historical series that I want to ask you, how many Christmases were you away from home?
3 straight. Three without coming back.
How was that? And what was it like, first of all, being there with your comrades, and then also having that obvious longing to be with family?
You had ups and downs. You had a good time, a great time, and we were fortunate in the Navy because we were fed better than the Army. I'll have to admit that. So we usually had our festivities. We were fed turkey and dressing and all the sides. We had less responsibilities. We were freer then, unless we were in combat.
Right.
Which usually resided even with Germany at that time, in Christmas time.
They would at least give you that day.
Yeah, they give you that day. But then when you let yourself, and you had to do it, when you let yourself go back home, you kind of cried a little bit.
Oh, yeah, no.
Cried a little bit.
Yeah.
But you were so thankful to have comrades, people your age and all, that's gone through all that you have, and they were your brothers, and that was your family. That was your family, your immediate family there.
Right.
And that compensated for the loneliness. Loneliness.
When things got quiet, though, that longing for home and wondering what they're doing.
Yeah, but I would imagine, and I don't have any way of knowing, but I would imagine it might have been much harder on the parents back home who had an 18-year-old boy
Absolutely.
in combat
As I said,
than it was on
as
him.
I said, a great grandmother, she fasted 21 days, which is, and both her boys made it home from the war, safe and sound. Probably with some issues the same as you and all of everyone who was in conflict.
I had a brother who was in the Navy in the Pacific at the same time. A brother-in-law who was in the Air Force at the same time, and some cousins, and we lost 2 of them in war at the same time. So
the United States, go ahead.
Go ahead.
The United States can never do enough for our veterans. No matter what we ever do, we can never do enough.
Never do. Yeah.
But we can try.
We can try. We can try.
We should try.
Keep trying.
Yeah.
Many people ask me, at your age, why do you do that? They even ask me why I'm over this grass back here.
That's why you've lived as long as you have, sir. You know.
And if I could inject, my answer to that is, I do it when I want to do it, how I want to do it. I don't ask anybody how it should be done. And when I get through, I can look back and see what I have done, whether I like it or not.
That is a wonderful analogy on life itself, you know. So, how you mow your yard is how everyone should live their life, honestly. Mr. Edwards, I can't thank you enough, sir.
Let me read just something in conclusion.
Absolutely.
Laurel Countyans have been a bedrock for my long life of 93 years. It has been a foundation of truth, honesty, love, and compassion. Also has taught me the fundamentals of how life should be lived, to be blessed and to bless others. These truths are available to whomsoever desires an influence and guide for their lives. I still reside in Laurel County, London, Kentucky, where I hope to remain until God takes me home.
No better way to end. Spotlight on Laurel, her history, and her people. Thank you.